Okay, the first concept we need to learn before we can create our first Android application, is layout. This is the user interface layout. So all layouts in the Android application, is constructed with XML. You can, for now, you can assume or think layout in Android is the same as form design in Visual C#, or Java. In Android, layouts are created with XML. All layout is located in your res layout folder. Over here, res, and then layout folder. For now, we only have one layout, which is activity_main.xml. This layout is used for the main activity. If you notice the pattern here, for main activity, the layout is activity_main. The name of your activity is swapped in your layout. Okay, we can switch between graphical layout and XML, but let's open our activity main XML first. You will get something like this. We have the visual representation of our UI or our layout over here. And then we can switch to graphical layout and XML sources from these three buttons. We are currently in design mode. We can switch to code. We will see the XML needed to create our layout. We can also split it, something like this. Everything is constructed with XML. So for example, this button is constructed from the following XML. Something like this. We don't have any button yet, but we have some text view. Text view is like label in Visual C#. So this simple text view is constructed from this XML text view. Okay, let's go back to the design view then. The concept for the layout in Android, all user interface element in Android is called view or ViewGroup. They are built using view and ViewGroup objects. A view is an object that draws something on the screen that users can interact with. For example, like buttons and then labels, which is called text views. Maybe some text boxes later, and so on. A view group is an object that holds other view as well as other view groups in order to define the layout of the interface. So a view group may contain some buttons, some text, some checkboxes, and so on. A layout defines the visual structure for a user interface, such as the UI for an activity or an app widget. So each layout file must contain exactly one root element, which must be a view or a view group object. What it means by exactly one root element? Let's take a look at our activity main XML. Here, if you take a look at the component tree, we have a constraint layout, then followed by a text view. A text view is a view, obviously, because the name, you can know it from the name. It ends with view, so it is a view. But we have the root here, which is a constraint layout. Within this constraint layout, we can have some views, either a button or image, maybe another text view, and we can also nest another layout within this root. And of course, it has a lot of attributes. So for example, if I select my text view here, then you will see a lot of attributes at the right hand side of Android Studio, at the attributes panel. It has a layout width, and then constraint, text, and so on. We will take a look at some of these attributes later. Okay, we have some ways to build a layout. Using a common layout, a constraint, linear, web view, table, relative, and so on. And the second one using a adapter, list view, recycle view. We will learn about this a little bit later in the NMP course. For now, we will use the common layout. Okay, so we have a linear layout here. It is a layout that organizes its children into a single, either horizontal or vertical row. If the length of the window exceeds the length of the screen, that it will automatically create a scroll bar for us. Okay, and then we have a relative layout. Relative layout enables us to specify the location of a child, object, or a view relative to each other. So for example, this box, I can put this box relative to these two boxes or to the parent. And then for web view, it displays web pages. As we have already talked about hybrid applications. It uses web view to display web pages. And then for list view, it is similar to list box in C#. It displays a scrolling single column list. A recycler view is a newer version of a list view. In the meantime, for grid view, the list is shown in a grid, columns and rows. Okay, let's take a look at the activity main layout file, which is this one. Can you mention which one is the view group and which ones are the views? I have constraint layout and a text view here. Okay, let me add one button then. So I have something like this. Please mention which is the view group and which is or which are the views. I'll give you maybe 10 seconds to think. Or you can simply pause this video, and then after you have determined which one is the view group and which ones are the views, then check your answers with mine. Okay, so have you decided which one is the view group and which one or which ones are the views? If you remember the definition of view group, a view group is an object that holds other view. So here, obviously, the constraint layout is a view group. Why? Because it contains other views here, text view and button. So this also answers which ones the views are. So this text view is a view, obviously, because the name ends with view, and this button is also a view. Okay. Of course, you can add a new layout. If you want to create a new layout, you can do it like this. Right click over here on the layout folder on the res. Open res folder first, then select layout, then right click, select new, and select layout resource file. You will be greeted with the new resource file window. Okay, for the file name, usually it is related with a specific activity. And if you create a new activity, usually Android Studio will create a new layout for you. So you don't really need to create a layout for a specific activity unless you forgot to do so when creating a new activity. Creating new activity will be explained, I think next week. Okay, so for now, this is only one example of creating a new resource file or a new layout file. Usually, the name will start with activity when you associate this layout with an activity. Yeah, then the activity name login, for example. The root element, just leave it as it is. Yeah, the default root element is a constraint layout. And for everything else, you can ignore them, then just click OK. Now you will have two layouts, yeah, activity main and activity login, which is now empty. But as you see over here, we only have one activity. Yeah, how to switch the layout? Yeah, for example, if you want your main activity to actually use the activity login layout, how to do so? Yeah, it will explain later in the section 7. Yeah, it can be changed, but for now, let's leave main activity to load activity main. Yeah. Okay, so this is the layout editor. We have palette over here. This palette panel lists all views, view groups, or some people call it widgets. Yeah, we can use in our application. And then below that, we have a component tree which shows the hierarchy of the view and view groups. Here it's the design editor, and at the right hand side, it's the attributes for the selected view. Okay, so constraint layout, I will stop this video first, yeah, as not to distract you. Yeah, so constraint layout is the default layout on the Android Studio, yeah, because it has one major advantage, which is responsiveness. Every view objects in this layout must have at least one horizontal or vertical constraints. Yeah, what is a constraint? A constraint is you can think as a distance right now. Yeah, so a view in the constraint layout must be distance at some pixels from other views or from the parents. Yeah, and it will be automatically defined by Android for each different devices. Yeah, that's why constraint layout is responsive. Constraint layout is a view group, yeah, which allows to create large and complex layout later. Yeah, we can also position and size widgets in a very flexible way. Yeah, so this is an example of using a constraint layout. Yeah, as you can see, we have to define one horizontal constraint and two vertical constraints. Yeah, and the constraint is can be connected either to the parent, which uh, I do here, yeah, for the first text view, and for the name, the horizontal constraint is appended to the text view. Okay, if we forget to set a constraint, yeah, either horizontally and vertically, then Android Studio will render our view at the top left screen, yeah, at the 0.0 position. Okay, I think let's try to do that, yeah. So for example here, I will zoom in first. If you want to zoom in, you can press Control, then use your scroll mouse, yeah, or you can always use this button. And to pan around, you can drag using your middle button. Okay, you can see here, my button does not have any constraint. So if I run this application, let's take a look at the emulator. Yeah, as you can see here, my button will be rendered at 0.0. Yeah, the 0.0 actually refers to the parent, which is the constraint. Yeah, that's why the button is rendered over here. To add a new constraint, just select any of these four circles, yeah, the white ones. Yeah, just click it and drag either horizontally or vertically. Yeah, like this. If I only have one constraint, then let's see what happens. Yeah, if I only have one constraint, then the vertical constraint is adhered, but for the horizontal one, my button will be rendered at the very left-hand side of the parent, which is the constraint. Yeah, so please remember to connect at least one horizontal constraint and at least one vertical constraint. If I run this application, then I will get my button in the correct position. Yeah, that's how you add a constraint. Now to delete it, just hover your mouse. I will hide my hello first. Just hover your mouse to the circle. By holding control, you can see that it turns red, with an X within the circle. If you click it, then the constraint is deleted. Yeah, that's how you add and delete a constraint. You can also do it here on the attribute panel. Yeah. If you don't have any constraint, then you will get this plus sign. Yeah. For example, if I hover my mouse over here, it says create right constraint. You can also click it to create the right constraint automatically like this. To delete, you can simply just click it. Yeah, you don't need to press control here. Just click it and the constraint will be deleted. Yeah, so there are two ways of adding and deleting constraint. Okay, and then to set a constraint margin, you can set from the attribute panel, or you can simply just drag around as you wish. Yeah, maybe visually it is easier to drag around on the layout design. Yeah, something like this. So my button now has 156 dp. Yeah, the unit is not in pixels but in dp. dp stands for actually it stands for DIP, device independent pixel. Yeah, so Google uses a different unit for defining a pixel, because a pixel in one device may differ with a pixel in another device. Yeah, regarding to the pixel per inch. Yeah, the pixel per inch density, the pixel density in another device. Yeah, the DPI. Yeah, every device has their own pixel density. So to make sure that the layout is consistent on every Android devices, Google uses DIP, device independent pixel, or it is shorted into DP. Yeah, this way we can always make sure that this button is 156 pixels from the left and 180 pixels away from the top, regardless on the pixel density on each Android device. Yeah, so remember this, the unit is dp, not px, or pixel. Okay, you can center your object, regardless of device width. You can do this. Yeah, I will delete my left connection. Then I will connect to left and right. Yeah, if you see jagged lines or zigzag lines, then it means that your view, in this case my button, will be centered. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, here in the previous version, it's not really centered, but now my button is centered horizontally. Yeah. Okay, and we can also use a custom guideline to be used as constraint. Yeah, custom guideline is here. Yeah, the symbol is here. Yeah, we can use a vertical guideline or maybe a horizontal guideline. Okay, for example, I will add a new vertical guideline, which is here, and then we can simply drag it, yeah, to wherever position we would like. Yeah, so for example, if I want to create a margin 16 dp away from the left side of my screen, then I will use a vertical constraint here, a vertical guideline over there. Oh, this one is the second one. As you can see here, my second guideline is roughly 205 dp from the left side of this constraint layout. Yeah, what if I want to create the same margin like this one, but it is 16 dp from the right instead of the left? Yeah. Okay, we cannot really change the starting values for a guideline by just simply dragging it, yeah. But we can play with the attributes. Yeah, as you can see here, let's take a look at the guideline 2 first. If you take a look at its attributes, you will have a attribute called layout constraint guide begin, which is 16 dp. Yeah, it has its own counterpart, which is if we scroll over here, yeah, the common attributes, aside of layout constraint guide begin, it has a layout constraint guide end. Yeah, so instead of giving this guideline constraint guide begin some margin like 395 dp, let's erase this. Yeah, let's delete it. And then at the layout constraint guide end, put 16 dp. Yeah, now our guideline is constrained or has a margin from the right side of the constraint layout. Yeah, so start or begin relates to the left side of our layout, and end relates to the right side of the layout. Assuming that we are using the left to right layout, yeah, if there are some languages that is written from right to left, then begin or start relates to the right side instead, and the end relates to the left instead. Yeah, it is switched. But because we are using English, which is a left to right language, then start relates to the left and end relates to the right. Yeah, now I can use this guideline to actually constrain, create a new constraint. Yeah, instead of to the layout, I can, I can constrain it to this guideline instead. Yeah, something like this. And if I move my guideline, then yeah, you can see, for example, I want my button to be centered from here to here. Yeah, that's why I need the guideline or two guidelines in this case. Okay, I will leave it to 16 dp like this, yeah. Now, let's create this layout at activity main. Yeah, we have a choose job, a warrior button, merchant button, and teacher button. And the merchant button is always centered regardless of the screen width. And then we have a character name, max 12 character. We can achieve this by using a hint attribute. and then choosing gender, which is a male and female radio button, and we have a proceed button. Okay, let's try to do this together, yeah, shall we? I will delete my hello world and my button. Let's see. I will leave my guidelines here for now, and then I will add a new text view. Oh, by using guidelines now I cannot. Yeah, I can't really move my views around. So, oh well, I will delete these guidelines first. Oh, okay. It's a little bit weird because now I cannot move my views as free as it was. Let me try on this one. Okay, it's free. Oh, I'm really sorry because apparently I clicked this button, yeah. So can I undo? Because I want to for my guidelines. Okay. Let's see. Choose job. Let's change the text first, yeah. Choose job, and I will constrain it over here and to my guideline. Then I will put it somewhere like in here. Then let's do the buttons here, warrior, merchant, and teacher. The first one is warrior. Okay, I will give some room, 8 dB. Then let's change the text, warrior. Do the same for merchant, but this time because the merchant is always centered regardless of screen width, so I will constrain it not into the guideline but into the leftmost constraint, yeah, and as well as the right hand side. Okay, for the top constraint, yeah, you can connect it to the choose job text view, yeah, but you must remember to give it the same margin as the warrior button. Yeah, or you can always connect this, yeah, this top constraint to the top constraint of the warrior. Yeah, this is the quickest way to actually align two or more views. Okay, this one is warrior. And then I have the third one for the teacher. And the top constraint is also the same. Okay, I will align it to the. Oh, it is not warrior, yeah. Why I wrote warrior? This one is a merchant. Merchant. And this one is a teacher. Okay. Now for the character name, let's do over here. The top constraint is connected to the bottom constraint of the warrior button. For the left constraint, I will connect it to the guideline. And I will give maybe 36 dB margin. Character name. Okay, for the text box, select text, and then you can select any of these text boxes. Yeah, it is called edit text over here. Yeah, because I want some name, then I will use a plain text. And then, oh, let's connect the constraint first. Yeah, name, and we must use int. So delete the name text and use hints instead. Scroll down until you find hint, and then type max 12 characters. Okay, the third part, choose gender, and we have 2 radio buttons. Can do the constraint like this. Yeah, I think 32 is too far away. Yeah, I will change it to maybe only 16. 16. This one also 16 dp. And the text, what is it? Yeah, choose gender. Choose gender. Okay. Let's see. We have 2 radio buttons. You can search it on buttons. Yeah, use a button first. One button. Okay. Yeah, the constraint is over there. The first one is male. And then the second radio button is female. Okay, I will align it to the top constraint of my male radio button. And then you may want to give them some space. So I will give it maybe 16 dp of margin for the female radio button. And last, we have a proceed button at the bottom one. Yeah, button proceed. I will connect the constraint over here. For the right constraint, I will connect it to over here. Now I can change the text proceed. Okay, I think that's all. Then let's try it in the emulator or device. Yeah, let's run our application to see the result of the layout. Okay, nice. I have a choose job here. Yeah, obviously, when it is clicked, then the button does nothing. Yeah, for now. Character name, you can input like Andrew. And for the gender, you can select male. Now the radio button does not work. Yeah, I can select male and female. Yeah, this is of course not what we want. Yeah. Okay, why our radio button did not work? Yeah, the concept is actually the same as with the Java counterpart of a radio button. Yeah, in Java, you will need to group the radio button first before we can only select one of them. Yeah, so the correct way of adding radio buttons is actually to add a radio group first. Okay, so I will move these radio buttons over here first. Yeah, and then I will add a radio group, which is very small right now. Yeah, connect the constraint, the top constraint to here, and now be careful about this, yeah, because it is a little bit crowded right now. Connect the left constraint to the guideline. Now delete all constraints from the radio buttons. Yeah, and then we must add these radio buttons as children of this radio group. Yeah, just drag it on the component tree like this. Okay, and now we must correct the proceed constraint. Yeah, delete the top constraint, then reconnect it to the radio group instead. Okay, like this. Yeah, and if you want your radio group to be aligned horizontally rather than vertically, yeah, like in this example, we have horizontal. Yeah, this one is horizontal. Yeah, in this example, the radio buttons are aligned horizontally, but we have vertically. Yeah, to change that, we can, let's see, let's take a look at the attribute. We should have the orientation attribute. Okay, we don't have it. Then let's try to right click over here and then go to the linear layout. Yeah, radio group is actually a linear layout. Yeah, and then let's convert orientation to horizontal. It does nothing. Okay, convert orientation to horizontal. Still does nothing. Okay, let's try to search the attributes ourselves. Yeah. Okay, let's search here. Search orientation, then select horizontal. Ah, see. Now our radio button is oriented horizontally. Yeah, although for linear layouts, we don't specify constraint at all. Yeah, the constraint is exclusive to the constraint layout. So if you want to give some space for the male and female radio button, then you must specify the margin manually. Yeah. Okay. Before we continue to the layout params, let's try to run this app first and see if we can select the male and female radio button exclusively, yeah, as it's supposed to be. Okay, male selected. Now, if I click female, then my male radio button is deselected. Yeah, and my female radio button is selected. If I click at the male radio button, now the female radio button should be deselected and the selection goes to the male radio button. Okay, nice, it works perfectly. Yeah, so it is the correct way to actually include radio buttons on your application. Yeah, it's the same as Java actually. Yeah, please remember that when using radio buttons. Okay, now about layout params. Yeah, layout params. Param stands for parameters. Yeah, they are used by views to tell their parents how they want to be laid out. The possible values are fill parent, or it is renamed match parent in the API level 8 and higher, which means that the view wants to be as big as its parent minus its padding. For constraint layout, the parameter is called match constraint. The second possible value is wrap content, which means that the view wants to be just big enough to enclose its content plus padding. Yeah, this is an illustration of using wrap content and fill parent. Yeah, in this first example, I have a new button, and the layout width is wrap content, and the layout height is wrap content. If I change my layout width to be fill parent, then my button will automatically be resized to fill the space of its parent. Yeah, likewise, if I change my height parent to also fill parent, then my button will fill the entire screen. Okay, can we do something to try the layout width and height to our application? Yeah, let's try it. Assume that I have another button here. Yeah, it is not in the original layout, but let's just try it. Oops, sorry, I must delete this first, and then I will center my button horizontally, yeah, not vertically. Okay, now if I change the layout width to match constraint, or it is 0 dp, this will happen. Yeah, now my button will stretch towards the guideline at the left side and also towards the guideline at the right side. Yeah, so it stretches to fill in the available space from its parent. The parent in this case is the guidelines. If I change my layout height to match constraint, I get nothing. Yeah, because I don't have the vertical bottom constraint. Yeah, to use match constraint, you have to connect both constraints, yeah, horizontally or vertically. So for example, if I add a new constraint, what's the difference? Yeah, now my button is still very thin. But if I change this to 0 and also change this to 0, yeah, then my button will fill the entire space available for it. Yeah, which is uh, the height of our constraint layout. Yeah, so this is the difference between match constraint or 0 dp and wrap content. Okay, those are the two layout params we can use. And then about margin and padding, margin we have used it already. Yeah, margin defines the distance from other view. Yeah, by specifying a margin for a view, we say to keep this much distance from another view. While padding is a way to push the content away from a view's inner boundary. Yeah, maybe it is well illustrated by button because we have visible boundaries. Yeah. So if I set my padding for this proceed button to something else, let's search padding. It's not here. Let's just search it. Yeah, padding. Now it is not defined. Yeah, actually we have left 16 top 4 and so on, but let's override all of them by writing something like maybe 50 dp. What happens to my button? Yeah, now my button will be very big, yeah, and I have 15, not 15, 50 dp padding. Yeah, so that's the difference between margin and padding. You can also take a look at the illustration over here, yeah. This text view has a margin only, this one has padding only, this one has padding and margin, and so on. Okay, now let's rework our user interface to be something like this. Yeah. Now we want for these three buttons to be centered or to be pivoted at the center of device screen. So the merchant button should be at the center of the screen. Meanwhile, for the variant and teacher, it is no longer constrained to the left or right side, yeah, but at the center instead now. And then for the max, not max, for the character name at the text, it has roughly the same width as the screen width. And then the inside text has some padding. Let's do that. The easiest one to work is this edit text. Yeah, let's connect this right constraint. And yeah, while my padding is displayed here, I will give it some padding, 12 dp. Please don't forget the unit. Yeah, you cannot just write dp. Yeah, you will get errors here. Yeah, the box is outlined in red, and if you force yourself to use 12 instead of 12 dp, then when you run, you will get errors later. Your application will not run at all. Yeah, so don't forget the unit, which is dp. And then now for the width, change it to match constraint. You will get something like this. Yeah, quite similar with the screenshot here. Now for these three buttons, yeah, it will not, it may look like there's not much difference because my screen space is quite limited, but let's do that. Yeah, regardless, I will delete this constraint and connect it to the merchant button instead. The same with the teacher. Let's delete the right constraint and connect the left constraint of the button teacher to the merchant button. Then you can give them some padding, yeah, maybe 8. Okay, let's try this configuration. Okay, you can see now my max 12 characters or character name at the text is roughly the same as the screen's width. And now the warrior and teacher buttons are pivoted through the center. Yeah, if I try to rotate my device, then I will get something like this. Oh, I must rotate it manually. Yeah, this one is in R. Okay, I lose the button. Wait. Oops. This one. Yeah, this feature is, I think, is new in Android R. Yeah. Yeah, if you rotate your device into landscape, yeah, then your character name at the text will be automatically stretched also, yeah, to fill the entire screen. And as you can see here, my warrior and teacher button are still in the center of merchant button. Yeah, they are no longer to the left and right hand side of my screen. Okay, I will move my orientation back to portrait then. Okay, so that's how you create a user interface in Android Studio, yeah. You can learn about other layouts, yeah, about the linear layout, relative layout, and grid or table layout. Yep, and please note that this layout is the oldest technology in Android. Yeah, currently Android development teams is preparing a new layouting mechanism. Yeah, but it is totally different. Yeah, to create layouts in Android Studio. In this new way, you no longer need to create XML layouts for each activity. Yeah, it is called a Jetpack Compose, you can take a look for more infos over here, and it uses a different approach to design user interface. The approach is called a declarative UI toolkit. Yeah, for now, the Jetpack Compose is still in release candidate 1, so it is stable enough, but it may still contain bugs, so we won't learn Jetpack Compose over the rest of our NMP course. Yeah, we will still use XML layouts to create our layout. Yeah, if you want, you can learn it on your own later. Okay, I think that's all about layouting. Yeah, and now we are ready to code something in here. Yeah, but before that, let's talk about activity. Yeah, what is activity in an Android application? Yeah, we will discuss it in the next video.